Cool.
Hello.
Are we recording?
We are recording. Welcome,
Oh, shit. Okay.
Jungle Brothers Tribecast.
Yeah, first episode official of the Tribecast.
What is the Tribecast, Joe?
Tribecast is just an extension of the JB Cast, which is our regular podcast. But this one is more aimed at the members of the JB tribe, so the people that train at our gym and in our online program. But, of course, it still extends to everyone, and it's probably got a shitload of value for everyone out there. But it's just a little chance for us to talk more directly with our members.
And candidly, and the idea is that they stay about 30 minutes, easy to listen to, provide a bit of value for them, allow us to communicate some stuff that we otherwise can't catch in a short conversation in the gym. Correct us. So, Paul here, Joe, we heard from. Tiora, third
Hello.
Jungle Brother present.
Hello.
Can you introduce our guest
Can
here
you
today?
hear me? I can't hear myself anymore.
I can hear you.
That's all right.
Don't mention these are only 30 minutes.
So we have a special guest on today. Her name is Yasmine Carter. She's just started coaching with us. She's our specialist lift coach.
Say hi, Yasi.
Hello.
Yes, that voice sounds young. How old are you, Yasi?
I'm 19.
She's 19. Cool. So we're going to introduce Yasi. You're going to have a chat to her about how she got to Jungle Brothers and her little journey along the way. And the first time I met you, Yasi, you were 12?
Oh, I would have been
13,
close. Where
maybe?
did you... Where was that?
Mum's garage.
This is Garage Gym. Yeah,
Garage Gym.
12 or 13, yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that gym.
So that gym was something that a coach of mine at the time had developed, which lived in...
Coach of mine too at the time.
Both our coaches, yeah, which lived in...
Shout out to Luke Barra.
the 3-door garage of my mum's office on Riley and Campbell Street.
Yeah. I remember that gym.
Yeah, so there was usually like a Range Rover parked in one of them, and then us trying to lift barbells against the Range Rover, trying not to knock the rearview mirror off.
Keep your bar path straight.
Yeah, exactly. And
I have a confession to make. I
we
think
go.
I put a skip mark in, like when we were doing double unders with the speed rope in the side of your mum's car. And Luke looked at it. Luke said, "Don't hit the car with a skipping rope." And the first 2 skips I
hit the car
I
with
hit
the
the car,
skipping rope.
and he looked at me. I looked at him, and I didn't say anything, and he didn't say anything, so I kept
You
skipping.
just did.
Yeah.
Didn't
Miss
happen.
Carter's coming for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were there for just over a year, I would say, before I'm assuming the councilman walked past and said, "Why the fuck is there a gym in this 3-door office garage that doesn't have a permit to be running?"
Because it was an operating business.
It was an operating business.
It was like there were a bunch of members in there.
There was like at least 50 people.
Yeah.
Fuck, you serious?
And
Yeah.
It was 2 space
Jesus.
garages in
I
the
went
middle
through
of
that gym.
Darlinghurst.
I remember people
It's
being,
mad.
people were like, it was the talk. People would be like, "Man, have you seen that little garage gym?" Like Betsy, he was like, "Man, that's what we should do." Like it's like a dream for so many people.
It was fucking awesome. Best spot ever.
Yeah.
Loved it.
So that's where you two met.
I met Yasi. How long have you been lifting before that? Was that your first gym or?
That would have been the gym. So that would have been my second gym after starting at Boxing Works in Surrey Hills. So then after Luke left Boxing Works, that's when you would have met me. So it probably would have been maybe 6 months out of Boxing Works and then starting there.
So this was a CrossFit gym. Did Mum introduce you to CrossFit, or was that how did that all go about?
So I started in martial arts before I did do any kind of strength and conditioning or CrossFit or weightlifting. That's why I went to Boxing Works. So
Which martial art?
Taekwondo,
Awesome.
I did. And I had...
What belt did you get to?
I got to black.
Holy shit!
Oh.
Awesome!
Yeah, so I had an agreement with my mum.
Your Fight Factory coach.
Shout out
Yeah,
Nat
exactly.
Nataris.
We made a deal because I used to get sick of things very quickly. Like I used to go from one sport to another and so on and so forth. She was like, right, well, if you get your black belt in this, then you can do whatever you want. So I think I was about 12 when I got that, and then started kickboxing at Boxing Works and was sparring for a little bit, and then that was with my mum's trainer, which was Luke, which is our family friend. And then he started programming strength and conditioning and weightlifting for me. So wasn't like really, I want to do this. It was more so, you're going to do this. And then I did that for about 2 years and hated it. And then slowly started to enjoy it after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that grind like for those 2 years?
I think because I lacked a lot of discipline when I was that age, because I was an only child as well. So I was used to kind of being really defiant quite deliberately. And if I was kind of told to do something, I could just say, well, I'm not going to do that. So this was the first time when I had a coach, someone that wasn't a family member, telling me what to do. So it kind of taught me a little bit more discipline. Like, you need to stick to this. You know, I'm not a relative. You can't just go, no, I'm not going to do that. And then because I was so young, that's what I went along with.
You grew up in the mountains, right?
Yes, yeah, I did.
That mountains
toughness. Yeah, mountains toughness. I think it was mountains more so boredom. Like, a lot of kids, once they get to kind of high school age, start to derail themselves. So it was probably a really good time that I actually found sport, and that I started continuing with martial arts and with weightlifting, because otherwise, who knows, I probably would have had a baby by now.
What's wrong with having babies?
Yeah,
well,
man.
Joe's having one soon.
Probably not.
Dick.
Sorry.
Yes, you're right.
But yeah. But no, I feel you. We were actually at the Blue Mountains most recently. Was for your Bucks weekend, Paul. And it's like, you feel the vibe. It's like small town kind of vibe.
Yeah.
You can see the people that have just kind of transitioned to from teenage to adult life there, and I guess it's a different outlook.
Yeah, 100%. Because
Less to do.
You're born there, and then if you stay there, then you have a family and you die there. It's very much like, it's very compact, so it's kind of good to get out and see other kind of opportunities, other parts of the world, go into new sports and to new business ventures and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, maybe if you've travelled with weightlifting, yeah?
Yeah, so I got a fair few training opportunities with weightlifting outside of competitive weightlifting. So when you compete, you go all over the world, or you have the opportunities to, which is very cool. So whether it's kind of interstate, out of the country, a lot of stuff in Asia that they do. I got to train over in New Caledonia, which was very cool.
Cool. So what are they, like exhibitions or something like that, or you're coaching workshops there or something?
It's true. So being an athlete yourself, so being coached under different coaches in other parts of the world. So in New Cal, which was very cool, which I got the opportunity off the back of doing coaching work for AWF, so coaching on their courses. This was after kind of a solid year of competing for me. They asked me to go over to train at the Oceania's Institute under a guy named Paul Coffer, who takes care of all the Oceania's athletes, which was very cool, because there's a group of kind of kids over there, late teens all the way into kind of late 20s, that just live and breathe weightlifting. Like, they live at the Institute, they wake up, they train, they eat, they sleep, they train, and it's just breeds just incredible performers. Like, it's nuts to be around. It's a really, really cool environment. And you'll see, like, whenever these kids come to like local comps or like national comps in Australia, they just clean the fuck up. Like, they just take all the medals and they go, because that's just what they do.
They're on another level.
Yeah, another level. So it's very cool to be given the opportunities to go to another country, but also train around people that are at an insanely high level.
How do you find that, like, you know, looking at it, because obviously to train at that level and live it and breathe it, there's the whole sacrifice of the other things in life, right?
Yeah.
Which is the path that any high-level athlete takes. How do you feel about it being there? Or father?
Or father of two, yeah. yeah, go on.
The sacrifice.
Dan's mum.
Dan's mum.
Dan's mum.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, how do you feel about it, like, as, you know, as a young adult, having kind of lived in both of those lives? Do you look, like, when you're training with them, do you think, oh, fuck, this would be cool, I'd love to be a part of this? Or is it like, yeah, this is cool to visit and I respect what they're doing, but it's not for me? Like, does that make sense? Yeah,
you drift in and out. I find that as a child athlete, especially if you're competing at a high level, and which I competed at a high level, but also in a very, very short time frame. you get to kind of my age now, 19, 20, and, you know, all your friends are out partying and you don't really get to spend time with your family and you know, you're doing your HSC and whatever. So you just kind of, sometimes you want to and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Like, you get to my age and you get sick of it, or you take a hold of it by the horns and then you run with it. It's usually one or the other. I sort of go in and out. Like, I'll do it really hard for a little bit, I'll compete, and then I'll drop off and not do anything for a year. So I come very much in and out of the circuit, which is not massively common. But I think because I got to an international level so quickly, when a lot of the other athletes took quite a number of years to get there, I felt like I kind of did it, and I was like, well, I've done that. Like, it wasn't as much of a process. I feel like if it was a longer process, I would have been able to stay with it for a little bit longer, I think.
Yeah, okay, because you would have had to like invest more into it.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah,
Bigger
exactly.
buy-in.
Exactly, and I think always being quite athletic growing up. It's like if I stick at something and I train hard at it, I find that it will come quite naturally to me, opposed to having to train like for years and years and years to be able to do something like that in weightlifting.
How old were you when you first competed? What was it?
I actually competed quite late. It was probably about 3 years into my training. So 12, maybe about 15, I did my first state, my first nationals, and that's what kind of kicked off the overseas trips. But you'll find that with a lot of junior athletes especially, your coaches will push you into competition really, really quickly because it's quite a daunting thing. It takes a lot of commitment, and they want to sort of desensitize you to that from an early age, I guess. So, you know, especially because it's quite scary, the thought of bombing and being in front of all these people and all this kind of stuff. So you'll find that kids start competing really, really early. And then I wasn't allowed to do that. I had to train for quite a while before I could actually get into competing.
How'd you feel on your first comp?
It'd scare the shit out of me.
Was it scary or?
Fucking tough.
I think it was scary. I don't think I did. I don't remember what I did. I think I must have done quite well, but I didn't know what I was in for. I didn't know what to expect. I think it was more so because I didn't know any of the other kids. Junior weightlifting and even senior weightlifting is quite a tightly knit group. Like, everyone knows each other because it's a small sport, especially in Australia. And I didn't know anybody, so it was like changing schools and then having to meet all these new people that were your age and trying to, it's very cliquey and all that kind of stuff. So I just kind of went in and did it and then went home. So I don't really remember. It was a while ago. I probably would have been nervous because I'm generally always nervous, a bit of a perfectionist, but other than that, yeah.
Is weight cutting a thing in weightlifting?
Yes, very much so. I think the most I've had to cut was about 7 kilos in about 2 weeks.
Whoa, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And with weigh-ins for weightlifting, it's not a day before or 2 days before like it is in fighting. It's 2 hours before. So your weigh-in room opens 2 hours before you compete. You have an hour to weigh in, and then you have an hour to eat and do whatever you want and then lift. But I think the way that, even though cutting that much weight for someone that young is not a massively healthy thing to do, I could only do it maybe 3 times a year. There's people that were my age that were doing it a lot worse than I did. Like, I would do it with, diet and put some trackies on and go run around the oval and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the girls and the boys would eat crap, more or less starve themselves for about 2 or 3 days, and then weigh in and then eat more crap. So, like, kids would bring buckets of, like, cookies and pastries and donuts and all this kind of stuff.
Calories.
Like, yeah. And I remember weighing in after com games, and I had like salmon and salad, and I could only eat half of it because your stomach shrinks. And there were these kids just like scoffing down lollies and all this kind of stuff. It was nuts. It's nuts.
It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nuts that in a sport that is so demanding, especially in your training, there is such a lack of a concept of nutrition as a base.
Yep. In general, in that community.
In general, yeah. Unfortunately, especially with young kids.
You think CrossFit had? I know that. Well, I'm guessing it's had an effect on Olympic lifting because it's such a big. I mean, it's a huge sport, and I know that there's a lot of female CrossFitters have joined the international circuit with Olympic lifting and stuff like that.
I think won a medal at the Com Games last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Do you think they've brought like a bit more awareness to the nutrition side of things? Because I know from most CrossFitters that I know, are pretty like nutrition is a big thing for them.
I think there is a lot of there has been quite a big influx of CrossFitters coming into weightlifting and going to like at the AWF courses. There's a course of like 30, 35 people and they're all pretty much CrossFitters. So they are there, but I don't necessarily think that unless, I think a lot of those people are studying weightlifting and training weightlifting to complement their CrossFit. So I find that the understanding of nutrition that they already have would be relevant to them, but it wouldn't carry over to the people that started in AWF, unfortunately. I haven't seen a massive change. AWF is quite old school. I would think they have old school methodologies, and as much as they try to be progressive because all the coaches are around the same age for a lot of the junior athletes kind of around Australia, there's not a lot of progression.
Mostly older guys, right? I did my qualification there years ago.
Yeah, with Doc?
Yeah, Doc, he was part of it.
Yeah.
But I remember he had to race out partway through and do an emergency surgery.
Yeah, he's a facial reconstructive surgeon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
well,
so he's an old coach of mine. That's why we call him Doc.
There's the other guys at Leo, maybe?
Leo Isaac, I think his name is. Yeah.
I think it was him. It was great. I really enjoyed it, but like I kind of learned fuck all.
Yeah.
You know, like it was pretty old school, and I remember at the beginning of the course, which was like 2 days, he kind of called out CrossFit and was like, "Oh, and we just want to publicly acknowledge CrossFit for it's been a very beneficial force for recruiting young weightlifters." It was because it was like he was acknowledging like this sport was kind of dying, and CrossFit has kind of breathed some life back into it in a way.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think, as I said, majority of people that do those courses are CrossFitters. So, but there's a massive divide. Like weightlifting is thankful for the business that CrossFitters bring through, but majority of kind of purist weightlifters don't, like, they think that CrossFit bastardizes the sport.
Yeah.
Like that's a massive, like when I first started.
What do you think about that?
Say it.
Yeah, I know. I don't really care. Like I've kind of grown up doing both. I teach both. I'm constantly around both. Like my job is more or less making CrossFitters better at weightlifting, making CrossFitters lift like weightlifters, or making people in any gym lift better. As long as people are doing some form of physical activity to make themselves better, I don't really give a fuck. It's like whatever. But I know that it has, like, there was even talk about how, like, Tia potentially shouldn't have been chosen to go on certain international teams that she did, because there were other more purist weightlifters that have been in the industry for years and years and years that should have had the spot. But because she's a CrossFitter, she could bring more business in and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow, because she has a bigger following because she won the games and stuff.
It's very controversial. And there is a lot of politics about that. And, like, I was told when I first got into the competition circuit, when I was training at AIS, I used to have coaches try and convince me to stop doing CrossFit, because there's this idea that you can't do both. But in actual fact, you can do both, but you probably won't be number one in the world at both.
Yep.
Which I agree with, but I don't think you should be telling kids that you can't do this or you can't do that if that's what they want to do.
Totally. That's that classic old sports dogma, right? Yeah. Of any, like, old school coach where it's like, no, you got to do this.
Yeah.
You know, don't do that.
Exactly. And it's like I got to the level that I was at as quick as I did not because I was only doing weightlifting. So obviously something that I was doing was working. But then again, like if you speak to purists, they would say, no, it was the weightlifting training that you did twice a week, not the CrossFit that you did every other day.
Yeah.
But,
of course.
Yeah.
Do you see any men coming through the circuit, the Olympic lifting circuit from CrossFit? Because there seems to be a lot of women. Are there any men that are competing on an international level?
Not that I know of. No one that's made a massive enough wave for me to kind of have heard about, but probably.
Right.
Probably. I think that CrossFit has definitely brought more women to weightlifting because it has demystified the whole lifting weights will make you bulky thing for women, I think.
What would be your message to women concerning weightlifting? Women of our tribe who are tentative to come to a lift class, say.
Or if you enjoy it, then fuck it. Why not? If that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. And I think it's weightlifting is very, very cool in the sense that it's so highly technical, and it's awesome to coach people through so they get it, because it takes people years to be able to lift weights well. So if you can come to a class and kind of improve that aspect of your training, then it will carry through really well into everything else. I think it's an important part of everyone's training. I think you don't necessarily need to do it solely, but if it's something that you want to try, then go in and try, because it's got a massive carryover to heaps of other things.
Yeah, that's cool. I thought it would be, just to make an important distinction, the CrossFit and weightlifting thing, because we had a Canadian girl drop in at the gym the other day, and it was a lift class, and then her friend came to pick her up, and I said hello to her friend at the door, and she said, "Oh, is this CrossFit?" And I was like, "No, it's not, but we're doing weightlifting." And she was like, she looked at me funny, like, "Isn't it the same shit?" And it was, and I guess when you boil it down, there weren't many before CrossFit. There wasn't these small garage gyms teaching weightlifting, right? Like, really the only place where you could do weightlifting was a weightlifting gym.
Yeah.
Which there was sports academies and stuff around the world. So yeah, just to talk a little bit on that is a big part of CrossFit, but it's now being adopted by other places, right? Like we've adopted it, and I've seen a lot of other gyms pop up, big into the weightlifting piece.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's becoming less foreign to people. As you said, people used to only think of weightlifting as something that was done in weightlifting gyms run by a bunch of Greek families. That was the stereotype. That's the only place you went and did weightlifting, by someone's Greek grandfather that would sit on a chair and point at you with a stick. That's what it was.
I want to be a coach like that someday.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just
You'll get tracksuit.
I know,
one piece.
Tracksuit, and you'd have a swivel chair and one of those PVC sticks, and then you'd just poke people with it. And I still do it now, but I'm not sitting down. I try not to sit down. But yeah, I know. But no, I think it has become a lot more globalized because of things like CrossFit. It's not as scary anymore, and people don't see it as this kind of foreign kind of thing that is only done by Russian, Greek, and Chinese countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could we switch gears a little bit? Could you tell us about going to your coaching background, when that kind of started, and what that journey's been like for you?
So I started coaching, or started doing my first little pieces of classes at CrossFit Bondi. So this was me kind of following my old coach Luke around. So we both started training together. He started training me. It was about 2 years into that, and then I started kind of almost interning under him. So I would sit in on the classes. If he was doing any coaches development courses with the current staff, then I would sit in on that. So I think I would have been about 14, 15 kind of running around the gym and
I remember doing
Yeah.
the WOD with you back then.
yeah.
Shout out Glenn from CrossFit Bondi.
He's still there. I know.
Yeah,
He's still got
he's
an
a good
epic
mate.
beard as well, which is cool.
What's his nickname?
Big G.
Big G. Hey, Big G.
Yeah, so that was back in the day. And then moving from there, I started just literally following Luke around. Like, he was at the athletic club, which was in Bondi Junction, and I was taking some classes there.
I did my intern with Luke there,
Yeah,
and you were demoing for us there,
probably.
doing a
yeah.
bit of teaching as well.
That sounds about right, yeah. And then I think once I turned 16, I went and did my CrossFit level 1, but you can't take the test until you're 17. So I went to the course, and then I went back when I was 17 and I did the test. And then from kind of 16, I was coaching classes by myself. And then drifted out of coaching predominantly CrossFit, then predominantly weightlifting, and then going on the AWF courses, and then assisting them in coaching kind of modules of the courses and their athletes there, which was a really cool opportunity. And then from there, Luke opened his gym in Botany. So I was at CrossFit Whiteout for over a year, maybe 2 years. And then after that, I stepped out by myself and I worked at my first gym by myself, not under Luke, which was CrossFit Play, which is now in Waterloo. And then once I went to Play, I went on as a weightlifting specialist. But I taught general fitness, I taught CrossFit and their HIIT classes and stuff like that, but did their weightlifting programming, worked with their CrossFit athletes that wanted to get better at weightlifting on a personal training basis. And then any other beginners that would come into the gym, any onboarders on the weightlifting section of their onboard program. And that's kind of what I do now. I come in as a weightlifting specialist that can also teach other stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yasi, let's talk some numbers. I remember when you were, I think you would have been about 16, 15. And I think it might have been around that time you got a 1RM for your back squat. I think it was about 80 kilos or something.
Maybe, yeah.
I remember the heaviest thing I used to lift when I was 16 was probably a bong at that time. And I remember saying, Yasi,
Double J.
fuck, do the kids at school know how strong you are?
I think
Because
you did ask me
I
that.
know that's probably close
I remember
to
thinking
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Joe's
about you.
1RM's
I
about
remember
that
you
now.
asked me that. I used to always get asked
Body weight.
about, like, does it scare the boys away? Does it scare
Yeah.
the boys away that you can lift more
You're
than
like
them?
10 times stronger than them.
I know. And I was like, well, I'm kind of at training too much to really and I went to an all-girls school, so I don't have a lot of contact with boys.
Yeah.
But I was kind of in my own world back then. I had no idea. I think, obviously, I've put on a lot of size since then, so it probably looks more like I do some form of exercise.
You don't look like if you don't look like a lifter.
You don't look like
Yeah.
a
You know?
female Russian weightlifter.
Yeah, I know. Well, I used to get that a lot as well. I've always been quite a light body weight. It's like 58, 63 has always been my class. But I find that if I do a lot of volume, especially a lot of volume CrossFit, I start to get pretty beef. But
So what kind
Trap
of weights
meet.
are we talking? Like what's your heaviest snatch? What's your heaviest clean and jerk?
I think
What's your PRs?
back in the day, back in my prime,
Back in the day.
Back
What, 6 months ago?
snatch would have been maybe 70, 75. And then clean and jerk would have been probably 90, 92 and a half.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
At like, would you say 58 to 63 kilo body weight?
That would have been at 63.
Yeah,
How
right.
old were you when you hit those numbers?
Maybe 17, 18.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
What was your max deadlift?
Oh, my deadlift is fucking rubbish.
Is it?
Yeah, that's like the misconception is that like weightlifters we don't deadlift, we do pulls.
Pulls
Like-
and squats.
Yeah, exactly. You do pulls and squats. So you do your pulls at like 120%, but you do them off blocks. So, I don't know, 120 maybe?
Still pretty beast.
Yeah.
Back squat?
Probably about the same as my deadlift, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Love it.
Wait, you back squat 120?
I can.
That's Joe's 1RM
Fuck, I squatted that the other day and I was psyched. I was like, man, I'm feeling like a monster today.
Guzzle some more milk.
I'm going to go do some more handstands. Yeah.
too. Yasi, what's your greatest triumph, like in your lifting career? Or
Probably the Junior Commonwealth Games. That was really fun. That was a really good adventure. Even though I felt like a total newbie, total rookie, it was still a really, really fun adventure for me. And I wasn't massively happy with how I performed either. But to be able to get to that level in such a short time period of being on the competition circuit and then getting opportunities off the back of that, like going to NewCal and going to AIS and all that kind of stuff, was probably up there.
what did you place?
I got a bronze medal.
That's phenomenal. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
You ever feel like returning to that level of training and commitment?
I've been thinking about it. So this would have been last year that I went back to weightlifting, the start of last year, after about a year off. I kind of dropped off the circuit again when I was doing my HSC. And then went back and said, I want to go to nationals. And I went to nationals. And then I got put on a team, which I said yes to at the time, but I then pulled out of, which then was a very dramatic, controversial fucking shitstorm that I had to deal with, which then left a really bad taste in my mouth. So I just stopped weightlifting again. So now I'm back 2 days a week. And I don't know if I'll compete again. I think for me to be able to get better athletically with anything that I do, I need to be enjoying what I'm doing. Because the problem is I get to the stage where I have to start forcing myself to go to training, and then I'll get the shits, and then I'll just go I'll go half the time that I need to be going. So as long as I'm in a pattern of enjoying myself, then could potentially get back to a national or international level, especially while I'm still a junior. Once you get into senior, it's a whole different ball game. Like, shit gets so much harder. But it's a maybe. If I'm enjoying it, it's a maybe.
Yeah, okay. That's cool.
The wisdom of this 19-year-old. She'll probably make it back to nationals, but in a different sport altogether.
Yeah.
Best is yet to come.
What are you psyched on in your training right now?
I think I'm lucky to train like once every 2 days now. I try to just make, like, if I'm doing something fun and that's physical every day, then that's pressure off my shoulders. As I am a bit of a perfectionist, if I want to do something, then I'll put a lot of pressure on myself to complete it and do it really well. At the moment, I've been really psyched to just be back on a weightlifting platform twice a week with people that I enjoy being around. So
Cool.
I'll go
That's
out
cool.
to a thesis performance out in Campbelltown 2 days a week, which is a really long way away, which is why I'm only there 2 days a week. But that's been really fun for me. Weightlifting isn't fun when everything feels really shit. Especially if you've been doing it for a while, you can feel every single millimeter that's out, and it becomes really not an enjoyable thing to train because you're constantly frustrated with yourself. So at the moment, I've been psyched for it to feel better, to feel like everything's back in line, to feel like my technique's kind of rounding off again, feel like I'm lifting a little bit more crisp or a little bit heavier, a little bit neater. That's been really good for me lately.
Cool. What's the outlook for you here at JB's? What are you you've just stepped into the mix. What classes you
Started a week ago.
Yeah.
Pretty much about a week ago.
What classes you taking on?
Taking on the lift classes, and then I've assisted 1 or 2 gymnastics classes and a strength and movement class.
Awesome. Yeah, you were with me on Monday night.
Yeah.
That was heaps of fun.
That was really fun. It's good. It's really it's awesome for me watching everybody move, especially coming from as unfortunate as it is, CrossFit gyms where a majority of people don't move really well. Like, it's my job to make people move well, and unfortunately that's a process with a lot of people. It doesn't come immediately. A lot of people will just move super scaled and super badly for a long period of time before they can kind of get on to anything else. But watching how in tune your tribe is with their bodies is awesome. The fact that everyone squats barefoot and more or less perfectly, I think is fucking awesome, because you don't see that anywhere else. And it's not conventional, but it's what everybody needs, I think, which is really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a big compliment for us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, dude, I'm super pumped to have you on board. I'm looking forward to you helping me at the age of 34 get my snatch perhaps to a couple of % heavier than your 16-year-old PR.
Maybe back
that
squat.
That would be sweet. Yeah, the back squat too. Let's work on that.
Thank you, Yasi, for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Also,
Cool.
I'm really looking forward to doing the same, spending some time in your class and learning lots of new knowledge, and also being able to share what we have with you too, because I
That's
think
awesome.
you'll be able to take a lot from us as well.
Very, very cool. I'm excited to get in and learn new stuff. Learn how to cartwheel on both hands and not just one hand.
Yeah, sick.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think the tribe's going to love what you bring here. Unreal. I think you're going to love it here too, because there's a lot of stuff that I can see you in those classes, like, oh shit, haven't done this stuff in this sort of setting before.
I know, it's awesome.
So-
It's really, really cool. And it's fun, and it's challenging, and it's stuff that I need to be doing, stuff that everyone needs to be doing, which I think is super, super awesome.
Unreal.
Sick.
Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Let's wrap this guy up then for the day.
Yep.
All right. Signing off first Tribecast
Went pretty well.
for the tribe.
Awesome.
Thanks, team. We'll see you in class.
Let's get a snack.